Cricket is one of the most popular sports in the world, and every match has one thing in common. They all use a leather cricket ball. We're going to explore one of the most popular balls in cricket, its history, the manufacturer, and then we're going to dive into the leather itself. Who's the tanner? Where does it come from? And next, we're going to open it up so you can see from the inside out exactly how they're made, what that leather looks like, and take a fun ride into exploring how leather is used in one of the most popular sports in the world. The Kookaburra cricket ball has been in use since 1946. That was when the Australian Cricket Board selected it for use in professional matches. They are made from heavy leather steer hide, stitched on heavy-duty sewing machines, and then hand-stitched closed with a linen thread. It is covered with a nitrocellulose lacquer to give it more durability, smoothness, and shine. Around 500,000 are produced each year. And you can see here how that lacquer results in a really smooth surface and a very reflective shine. The leather itself. The leather generally comes from the Packer Leather Tannery in Narrabri, Australia. It then travels around 1,000 miles south to the Kookaburra manufacturing plant in Moorabbin, Australia. The leather used is a first-grade, high-quality steer hide, and most often it is alum tanned. This is a tanning process that uses aluminum salts and produces a very soft, white leather. The leather is then dyed the classic red color. Fine stitching is added, first by machine for the outer shell pieces, and then by hand to stitch the outer shells together. The result is a very soft, durable leather ball. And it's interesting because we have this very tight wrapping on it. It's like stitched very tightly together. And then we have that sheen that's applied. So it almost doesn't feel as soft as it likely is. So I'd be curious to open this up and see what it's like on the inside and even how thick it is. So let's check it out. So we have a few things going on. We have this outer shell, and then we have these different stitching lines. It seems like the outer shells are stitched by machine, and then they are stitched together by hand. So this may be the machine stitching, and this may be the hand stitching. So what we want to do is we're going to use our seam ripping tool, which will help us separate those seams. And if we need, we have a hobby knife as well to cut through those. So let's find a good entry point here where we can begin to open up those seams. We want to be careful. We don't want to cut up the leather because we'll be able to use it to make some pretty cool custom leather goods. So as much as possible, we're going to want to preserve that and then reuse it to make something else. And obviously for use on match day, they want it to be durable enough for the match. So it's not like these stitches are going to be very easily exposed or wear down pretty quickly. So they're going to be sturdy. So I have a pair of these pliers and they have serrations on it so we can get a little bit of a grip. Now we're starting to work our way in. I feel like after a few more of these, we should be on a good track. Along with that polished surface, there's the actual seam where the two sides join. So I think if I cut down that seam, that'll begin to open it up. And we can see it's interesting as we're flexing that leather a little bit, we're starting to see that surface polish crack, and then that really soft nature of the leather underneath begin to wrinkle and kind of come through. Another indicator of the softness of that leather. So now we can see the inside of the ball. We have a few different layers happening from this layer here. And we have what seems to be like a cork type layer in the middle. Then we have our leather right here that's on the top. That seems relatively thick, as a thick, durable leather. All right, we are in. And there is the inside of a cricket ball. Really cool. So we got a couple things. We have this plastic cover here, and then it looks like there's a word in there. It says YOU. So now I wonder if there are words in the rest. So that's really, really interesting. And we have here, there's almost like stitch marks that are drawn in. I'm not sure if they are, printed on there or if they're hand stitched. But this seems like guide marks for construction. Then we see our stitching that's there on the inside and a relatively thick leather. Let's take a moment and explore leather thickness. So this is a leather sample ring, and it essentially gives samples of leather thicknesses. And leather essentially is measured by weight. For the context here, these each represent a weight of leather, a thickness. And since leather hides are natural, they're not going to be precisely thick throughout. You know what, from feeling it, I'm going to say probably around a 6 to 7 ounce. Leather is used for the cricket ball. Just kind of looking at it, feeling it. It's tricky to measure because this end edge is beveled and it has had the stitching in it, so it's going to make it wider. But just feeling the two materials next to each other, it feels about 6 to 7 inch or 6 to 7 ounce weight that's used. And we could see already, just by moving all that, we see that cover finish super cracking already based on when I have to dry it smooth, but now with any movement it's going to crack. And then we have our soft leather underneath. So let's check out if there are any more words to our clue. So here we have our second half in here. There seems to be another plastic protective coating. And it also says U, so at least it's consistent. So it looks like there's the 4 panels, and those 4 panels are stitched together, and then they're coated and then stamped, so you can barely see that stitch mark in the side. And then here's our core. Feels like a cork. And I wonder if this will just pop right out, or if we'll need to do any kind of stitch cutting. What I'll try to do is just pop it out. Maybe it'll be easier than we think. Yep, there we go. All right, so there's our cork center. So I was wondering if there was going to be a secret message, you know, like hello to you or something like that. That said, this gives a general idea of how thick that leather is inside of a cricket ball. It's a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be. The stitching is really heavy. On the inside of the leather itself, it feels pretty soft. You can kind of see that it was dyed on both sides, and on the middle, it's still the original color from the album tanning. And then overall, that is the inside and the leather of a cricket ball. So if you have any questions, let us know. If you have more insights to share about cricket balls and leather, definitely do. And there you have it. Until next time.